Maybe the film is going to seem like we did improvisation. No way, there's not one scene where there's improvisation, it's all written.
Well, I think Jesse and Celine kind of, and the family in Boyhood, they're not like extraordinary people. There's something kind of, they have their charms, but they're not out of the ordinary people.
Romance is quite a methodical genre of film, and so romance has a tendency to bring out some really bad filmmaking. The bare bones of a romance are quite simple. You need two people with chemistry and dynamic, the thing that comes between them, the spark when they give into their feelings for each other, the split, and then the moment that true love conquers all. So, while this has led to a lot of bad, predictable and formulaic movies, today I want to talk about a trilogy that got it right. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset and Before Midnight are three films that span 23 years, giving us three snippets of the relationship between Jesse, played by Ethan Hawke, and Celine, played by Julie Delphy. I want to explain how to write a romance with these three films in mind, so let's jump right into the first one. Before Sunrise tells the story of being young and in love. It's pretentious and romantic, filled with youthful idealizations and philosophies. It mirrors the characters at that age. They're both in their early 20s and still have this romantic view of the world, their lives and each other. So let's take a look at the bare-bones structure of a romance with Before Sunrise in mind. 1. Two people with chemistry and dynamic. Jesse and Celine meet on the train and there is immediately a chemistry between them, both in the conversations they have and the body language they have towards one another. 2. What comes between them? This is fairly obvious. He's getting off at Vienna and she is not. 3. The spark, when they give into their feelings for one another. Now this is interesting because the spark happens so early on in the film. Jesse suggests they should get off the train together and spend one night in Vienna, and after a little persuasion, Celine agrees. 4. The split. This happens right at the end of the film. And 5. True love conquering all? Well, this isn't given to us at all at the end of the film. We're left to decide for ourselves whether they meet again. So basically, the entire film takes place between 3 and 4, between the spark and the split. This is why the film doesn't fall into conventional romantic traps. We know they are attracted to each other, we know they have a romantic connection, and they both know that as well. This means we don't get tons of will they or won't they or melodrama or argument or betrayals. We are presented with a simple love affair. And there's real authenticity to it too. The scene of the two of them listening to a record, awkwardly looking at each other, then looking away out of fear of being caught staring. It's sweet, it's relatable, and it feels real. In an interview, Linklater comments on the normal filmmaking rule of show, don't tell. He completely disregards this in this film, and it works. Because the characters are just meeting each other for the first time, and because they know they only have one night together, they embark on a series of romantic and somewhat normal conversations about life, love, past relationships, death, religion, and afterlife. There's an authenticity in their conversations that we connect with, and the film really captures the feeling of being young and in love. The characters are written to have faults. They have awkward moments. Even in a film this sweet, they still have small disagreements, and their best moments are not over the top. They are simple and therefore more real. So now we move on to Linklater's second film in the series, Before Sunset. A couple of interesting facts about this film. First, it takes place in real time. The film documents an 80-minute interaction between Jesse and Celine that takes place over 80 minutes of screen time. Secondly, Linklater has commented that he only took one shot out of the entire film. Before Sunset was released in 2004 and takes place 9 years after the events of the first film. This was a brilliant choice. In the first film they talk about their dreams and goals for their later life. A cliched sequel to Before Sunrise would have documented them meeting up 1 year later in Vienna as they had agreed, showing them still young and in love. But what we get in this film is far more interesting. We're presented with two people who have grown up a lot. While it is evident that the night in Vienna still means a lot to both of them, it's not like they grab each other immediately and kiss in the pouring rain. They've grown, they've changed, they're familiar to each other but are essentially different people. Because this film takes place in real time, what we see is them becoming reacquainted with one another and slowly drawing back layers of defence until they finally reveal their true selves, once again to each other. At first they both show each other their face value. In the bookstore and the coffee shop they both show each other that they are doing all right. Jesse has success, he's a best-selling author, he's married and he has a young child. Celine is a committed environmental activist, actively trying to make the world a better place. But as the film goes on, they both lower their guards, so to speak, and let themselves reveal the pain they are both feeling in their early 30s, both realising their lives are no longer constituted by unlimited potential. Despite Jesse's outward success, he feels he's only living out a series of commitments without there being genuine connection to their source. Celine, on the other hand, complains that all her lovers have got married, and thank her for enabling them to make that commitment. She is a driven activist, but her social life is barren and unfulfilling. They rekindle their romance in their shared feeling of disenchantment with life, a feeling that neither of them had when they first met. So there has not only been extensive and realistic development of their characters over 9 years, but they're also out of love with each other, so we get to watch them gradually rekindle a romance again. This is how relationships actually work. People change over time. There's no over-the-top kiss when they first meet, no prophetic musings about how much they missed each other or need the other. They gradually learn to trust each other again, and only when they have that trust do they open up, and only after they open up does their connection begin to appear. Another 9 years pass and then Linklater releases Before Midnight. As with the previous 2 films, we get character progression, we get realism. There will be no more chance encounters ending in sex. The spousal future they had fantasised about and dreaded in the other 2 movies has arrived. For better or worse, they are a functioning couple. Toting around their twin daughters, we realise that children change everything. They are stuck with each other, or not. In any case, knowledge has replaced seduction and its idealising projections. If in their first romantic encounter they asked what they might dislike about each other, then fudged the question, now they are prepared to enumerate. The films grow and mature as relationships grow and mature over time. Celine asks at one point if Jesse met her on a train now, would he still talk to her? They long for their former romantic selves, but familiarity has replaced the awkwardness of the first film. There are still glimmers of the people they were when they were young, but essentially they have grown up and changed. The film builds tension until the argument in the hotel room. Celine storms out, and we as the viewers are as heartbroken as they both are. We've learnt to love the characters, and you feel a real sense in this film of, if they can't make it work, is there any hope for me? They're so good together. We see Jesse smooth talk his way out of the situation though, with a little romantic charm. We see glimmers of how they met, glimmers of their younger selves, and are presented with some truths about life. Couples fight and commitment is hard. People grow and change, with only parts remaining the same. The film doesn't really resolve their argument, its obvious issues remain, but the ending is charming in the way that it inspires hope. The realism is how they grow and fight, and the charm is in their unwavering commitment to each other, their attempts to make it work, and glimmers of the romantic selves they once were. Linklater gives us a real slice of life cinema in this trilogy. He shows us the couple at 24, 31 and 40. He shows us how people change, how people grow, and how the nature of romance changes at different ages. He gives us the young couple in love, the disenchanted young adults, and the arguing parents over 3 films. It's real and wise and simply beautiful, and in my opinion, is the best example of how to write realistic romance in cinema today. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos.